Hello, and welcome to another episode of Scavenger Life. This is episode number 198 at scavengerlife.com.
And we welcome all you scavengers who have joined us today.
Trash elves.
Trash elves. I wonder if people
Trash elf.
I wonder if people get offended if I say that. Scavengers, it sounds more
I think both
professional.
I don't think either one sounds like that.
So we hope that you're either photographing or listening or packing right now, and if you aren't, you need to shut this podcast off.
And get to work.
You aren't allowed to listen to this unless you're actually working.
But what are we doing? We just
Those are the rules. And if you've chosen to sell on eBay as your profession, then you've definitely found the right people. So
yes.
we are those people who have, we're able to quit our jobs for the most part.
For the most part, yeah.
By selling junk on eBay.
Selling actual garbage.
Yep.
No, some people think it's garbage. Clearly, some people don't.
So this past week, we posted an interview with Cindy.
From Amazing Taste.
Right. She goes by Amazing Taste, which I love that
Which
name.
I love it too.
And it was a really good interview. People really responded.
Yes.
Just because I think she's a good example of someone that's just committed to eBay, like
very committed.
Not fooling around with Amazon. Like
Yep.
She's made her choice kind of like we have. One isn't better than the other, but she's made sense of selling on eBay, and now her husband, who was able to quit his job, they work together, and they have three. It's like older children, like
teenagers.
Young teenagers.
They're in high school, yeah.
So and that really is kind of the dream. I guess we don't have kids, but I can imagine if you did have kids, that would be the dream, that you and your husband or your partner could be at home. And you're working, but when your kids come home, you're there.
Them.
When they wake up, you're there.
You have this life together.
Yeah. And I can imagine that that's an extremely valuable part of what all this is, more than just the money that they make,
Right.
The other thing, though, is, I always think we work pretty hard. Like when it's like when we're doing eBay, we're pretty committed,
Compared to Cindy and her husband. I feel lazy.
But that's a good example of what it takes. I mean, if you want to make a lot of money, and they're posting numbers where they're making, $3,000 a week, grossing that, and she says, she wants to gross $4,000 a week.
Yeah, which they can.
That's a lot of money, but man, they really do. She talks about waking up at 5 to pack everything before her kids wake up.
They put in the hours. I mean, it's not like...
And they're selling we sell between 150 and 200 items a month. They're selling 120, 150 a week.
I mean, the numbers are just incredible.
Yeah. So, I love numbers, and it's, and you see, it's like this equation. How much time you put in versus what you sell versus what you're going to make. And you can kind of play with that equation. I don't want to put that much time in. Or I want to spend more to get higher quality items, or I don't need to make as much as money as other people might.
You kind of shift the numbers there.
And we'll talk about in a second our own numbers. It's this week and why it's our equation is definitely a little bit different. But this week, so we mentioned we were traveling. We're in San Diego right now.
We are in beautiful Pacific Beach.
Yeah.
It is. I totally understand. I'm not a beach person, but I totally understand why people live here. I'm like, what? This is amazing.
Yeah, I'm not a beach person either, although I can appreciate it. We just took a walk along the beach, and Ryan was getting your feet wet. I was like, I don't want to get my feet wet. I don't want to get sandy.
But you know what?
It's
seriously,
nice.
What was so fun was we stood up on the pier and just watched surfers. I was like, I could just do this all day.
Right, and it's not hot. It's just consistently 70 degrees cool.
Breezy, sunny. Oh, yeah.
And we're actually staying in we rented someone's studio apartment on Airbnb, so we're 4 blocks from the beach.
It's
how much is it?
It's $108 a night, which for the area, I know there are people who live in San Diego who listen to us. Pacific Beach is super nice.
Yeah.
It's not La Jolla, but it's really chill.
Yeah,
and
just a good location. There's like a kitchen and a full bathroom shower. So for us, like it's so much better staying in a place like this, but so much more comfortable. We're in like a neighborhood,
Yeah.
rather than like
A
we
hotel.
kind of walk by where the hotels are, and it's kind of like cheesy, touristy,
Yeah, it's-
kind of commercially-ish.
The nice thing about neighborhoods too is it's really quiet, and like the second we got here, we did our laundry, we cooked.
There's a yard sale right across the street.
I bought some. I actually bought some clothes for myself. I'm like, yay!
Yeah,
I love it. $2
bought a couple
clothes.
Hats that
Yep.
will sell.
Yeah, it was.
Life is good.
Life is good. Those hats sell for $25-$30, man.
I didn't know anything about these hats until about, I don't know, a couple
months ago.
I was like, what is this like little stick guy? And
The little
you're
stick
like,
guy.
it's a Massachusetts thing.
Yeah, actually, that can be a whole podcast about Life is Good. These guys are from Boston originally, and they made this like t-shirt company and hat company. I swear to God, every frickin' baby boomer I see in our town traveling from DC has a Life is Good hat or a Life is Good shirt.
Yeah.
So I'm like, we need to sell those because these people are buying them. And you know what? I was right.
Peace out. But right now we're enjoying being in San Diego. For the past week, we've been working.
Yeah.
And we've talked about this. So we sell on eBay full time. That's our full time job.
Yeah.
But we still do take these jobs. We do a video work.
Yeah.
And we have a couple of clients that we still work for every now and again. And so this is one of the jobs we do every
Couple
year.
months.
So we were in the LA Convention Center for 6 days.
Yeah.
And and these are like long 12 to 15 hour days, waking up at 5 or 6 in the morning, working till 7, 8 at night, getting something to eat and falling asleep. And
you do not leave the convention center. I mean, you are in for me, I'm in an office with fluorescent lighting, just cranking
right.
away.
It's me and Ryan have a specific skill set that we do for these people, where we're recording all these videos and editing them and
on the
putting
fly.
them up online.
Yeah.
And you can't miss anything. And anyway, I guess I just wanted to talk about, like, while it's still fresh in our minds, the difference between working for it yourself and working for somebody else.
Yes.
We've been lucky that we've basically been working for ourselves since 2006 is when we...
almost 10 years.
Yeah, almost 10 years. I mean, we weren't always selling on eBay. We were working for ourselves for other things. But,
right.
It always just reminds me what it's like.
Yes.
It's different. It's like right now, Ryan sounds very calm. But if we were to have done this podcast 3 or 4 days ago, she would have said something like, I never want to do this again. And next time they ask us to do work, I don't want to do it.
Every time we do the job, I think to myself, especially the first and second day, I'm like, what did I get myself in? And this is like the 9th time we've done this job for them. I'm like, what am I doing? I'm so stressed.
So why are you stressed?
So the thing about it is, number one, we are perfectionists. So when it comes to tech work, you are problem solving. You are having to be on top of it. If a video recording messes up, we have a backup, but still you're like, that's unacceptable. How do I fix it? There's that level of stress, and you're just trying to solve problems on the fly at the very moment they're happening. So you have to be on top of it. You can't just be like, I'm just going to get a coffee, whatever.
I've got to remind people, or even ourselves, to put this in its perspective. Like, this was a tough week for us. It was a lot of work. But you know what? We were working with guys who, they do this every
day.
Like, we had other technical staff that we were working with, and, after this event is done, they go to the next event.
one.
Like, they're doing this every week. I mean, this is the kind of... not the exact kind of work I was doing way back when, but the same kind of
similar
work, where you show up and just like, it's problem solving, boom, boom, boom. And I'm sure a lot of you out there who still work, that's what the jobs are like for.
That's why you
people,
get paid to solve problems and do work.
Yeah, and really that's why people pay us and pay other people, is like they pay you to be stressed, like like this is. And you handle it. We're gonna write you a check at the end of the day, but you know you have to handle whatever we throw at you.
And for us too, like the thing that we try to excel at these jobs is to problem solve and not involve anyone who doesn't need to be involved. You're just like, I'm problem solving my own issues. You know, all the stress is on me so that the people I'm working for don't even know there's a problem and it's already solved.
So why don't we talk? I always love the pro and cons. You know?
Yes, the two lists.
I love to do that. So there are people out there who I know, and they write to us and they come on the blog. They're like, you know, I get eBay. I sell on eBay. I love the extra cash, but I love my job. Like they pay me extraordinarily well. It's pretty chill. I like the people I work with. You know, I'm not going to quit, and that's great. You know, so let's talk about the pros. So the pros of working for somebody else, like having a job, is the sense of accomplishment.
There's a huge sense of accomplishment. I feel
like we did a great job. They're always very grateful. These are great clients.
Yep.
I mean, they're nothing but nice to us.
They're super cool people.
They sing our praises to whoever needs to hear it. You know, it's like it feels really good.
Yeah, it feels great after all that work and stress and sweat.
Right.
And you're just like, we did it! Yeah!
The other thing is, you know, when you have a job it's a money without any concern. And, you know, I know we talk about stress, but at the end of the day, even if things went wrong or there are problems, we still get paid.
Right.
And that's true like any job I've ever had. I mean, you can, you know, mess up so bad they might fire you, but ultimately you're going to get that paycheck every 2 weeks.
Right.
No matter what, you know.
Right.
And that's different from eBay where, you know, there's no guarantee we're going to make $100 this week, $4,000. Like, there's no guarantee.
Right.
You know? There's always that level of, sometimes can be that level of stress.
Yeah, of uncertainty.
I mean, the other thing about having a job is, you know, I mean, basically being told what to do is sometimes nice. Like
having direction, like solid direction.
Like I'm hiring you, do this. You don't have to really think about it. And I mean, even on this job, like we talk about solving problems and they're solving problems, but the job is like there's a set boundaries of what we have to do. And once we reach those boundaries, we don't have to worry about going beyond that.
It's almost like tunnel vision. You're just like, this is what I'm doing. If someone's like, this other thing, you're like,
yep. And you know,
don't know about
I've
that.
had lots of jobs like that where like I get hired, like this is my role in this organization and that's all I have to do, and I don't have to worry about what someone else is doing.
Right.
And you know, that's different again from when us running an eBay business where I mean
you do it all.
And plus our goals are always kind of changing, you know.
Sure.
Like it's, you know, we can set our own parameters, but really we're the kind of people, I'm sure other people are, where we're always trying to push ourselves and, you know.
Yeah, and expand and just like do other things and have different, you know, things that are happening. And that's different than when you're like, this is what I do every day.
Right.
Yeah.
And, you know, the other, you know, like we work with, so this past week we worked with an organization. They hire us as like contractors, but we work with people who are paid full time to work for them. And I can see the other nice thing if we were part of this organization would be like, it's safe.
Right.
Like, it's kind of like you have a job and I mean, it's like, that's it. Like we're okay, you know, and with we have benefits and
it's like
sick pay.
There's a bit of worry and uncertainty that's taken away, but also a pro too about being involved with like there's like a community. It's almost like a built-in community in a way. You know, when you're a freelancer, you're kind of like jumping all over the place and you have like a sense of like these are people that are cool and they're a part of like my life.
Yeah, you know? That's something I didn't have on our that I hadn't thought about. Yeah, if you work for somewhere good, if you're one of those people that's like, I love, it's my job, it's probably because you work with other people who you enjoy being with. Yeah. So so that's great. So you're kind of excited about going to work because Linda's there and Tom.
Well,
and, you know.
And I've heard of some people because like some people left the organization and moved to different organizations, and you know some people were really sad because they were like, that person was my best friend and
Right.
they're moving to somewhere else. And it's like, how often do you hear that with certain, companies or whatever? So
Yep.
you can get close to people and, have friends and stuff like
And
that.
then I guess the other good thing I was thinking about is, gaining experience is good. I mean, obviously, if you work like a menial job, you aren't
Right.
really gaining that much experience. And not just, I've worked a lot of menial jobs, but if you have a job that's like a professional job or a skilled job,
Yeah.
kind of like what we just did. I mean, it feels good. It's like you're flexing your muscles, and you're getting better at it. And the more if you do it, whether it be nursing or accounting or engineering,
Right.
you're getting better with every week or year, every project.
Another part about it too is accomplishment and for certain people too, there is that whole like moving up in salary and moving up and you become an executive director or you become a chief executive officer, you're a CEO or a CFO or whatever.
Yep. So it sounds great.
CTO, if you're chief technology officer, things like that. Like some people think that that's important and that can be important if you want a big ass salary.
Sure.
So that's part of it.
So it's great. So anyway,
I'm
everyone,
CTO.
let's just all stop doing eBay. Let's get these great jobs.
But okay.
So let's talk about the cons.
Let's talk about the cons.
Because there are a lot of us, and we were in that group where we were working at jobs that they weren't the worst, but I definitely we just went through those pros. There were a lot of those pros that I didn't experience in my job.
Right.
And those would be things like the grind.
Yeah.
Where basically I'm fulfilling someone else's dream.
Yeah.
So, you could say, well, I'm just being told what to do. I can just don't have to really think about it. And but you know what? To me, I don't like that.
Yeah.
Like, I would be even, it's this weird week. I mean, we worked really hard.
Yeah.
I mean, it took all of our mental energy. We're just exhausted.
And physical energy.
We get it done. But then it's kind of done, and we've just basically done someone else's job and a vision. It's like we're just hired guns. Like it doesn't really mean anything. Like it doesn't. And I know I get all philosophical about it, but that's important to me. Like I'm not building on top of anything.
Right.
The job's done. Period. And if I worked for them, we would just start another job. It's next week, and it would just be just not connected to this thing.
I will say the good thing about the organization we work for is we do care about the work. Like it's not just some corporate whatever. It's like cool.
But in general, often the jobs I've worked, that's what it was like.
Right.
You were just moving from one thing to the next. Right. It's just kind of like one unconnected task to another, and it's just kind of a grind.
Yeah, exactly.
The other thing is, and again, this has been my experience. I've worked jobs where, I don't like the fact that I'm working with people that I don't choose.
Right.
Like I know some people have jobs and like their best friends are there. That's great. I've worked at jobs where I don't like everyone I worked with.
And you have no choice.
Where I'm just like walking in the door, like almost like putting on the armor, like, okay, let's do this thing. That guy's going to be there, or that lady who just doesn't like me, and like, oh, this is going to be bad.
Another part about it too is like, you're talking about the grind. There's that thing where you're just always on.
Right.
You are there, you are on, you are working.
I think that's the thing, why I love when you helped me realize we could go freelance and then we could sell on eBay. I love that we have a natural schedule.
Yes.
We always talk about this, that freedom of not waking up to an alarm clock. And,
It sounds so simple, like you're just like, that's it. But it is such a luxury. Right. It's such a luxury.
Like this past week, we remembered what that's like. Like we had to be there at a certain time every day, and
like 6:30 a.m.
Right, and just so like it's not a natural schedule. Like that's locked in.
Yeah.
And then during the day, there were times when we're like waiting on someone else to do something. So there might be 2 or 3 hours where we're like, hurry up and wait. But
you're always on.
But we can't just like relax or take a nap. Like we have to just sit there and wait. Check our email or fool with something else. It's just it's so draining.
Yeah, it's really draining. Something also that's always interesting when you're on a job like this too is internal politics.
Yep.
where we're outsiders, but you get kind of sucked into it. You're like, you know, because you're with these people and you're working and you're just like so in it.
Well, think about, I mean, stop talking about this past week. Think about what it was like when you had a real job.
Yes.
Now, Ryan's only had like one actual
I'm like,
real
what
job.
real job?
I've had more of the real jobs, but you know, like I've had jobs where, there's this like internal politics
and drama
you have to deal with.
Yeah.
And so if you don't have a boss that's a good leader, or there isn't trust within the organization, I mean, that is something that, the thing that, and maybe it's just because I have a big ego, is that working in places where I feel like the boss isn't smarter than me, you know? And you're like, the only reason why he or she's in charge is because they were just better at like politicking, you know, and they have this, you know, job above me, and like they're the worst managers, and so resentful.
Well, I think part of that too, what I think is interesting and why I didn't have a real job for very long was you and I both are very like driven, ambitious, want to see things done a certain way.
Thank you.
No, but what I'm saying is to our, you know, downfall of working in our regular places, you could have been executive director at the place that you worked, but it takes so long and so much work to like get to that position that you're like, I'm not willing to do that.
Well, thank you for thinking that. Yeah.
No, I really think so.
Okay. Well, thank you. Well, that's why it's your partner, and you have to say things like that.
I do not have to say things like that, but I think that sometimes that, you know, seeing ahead 10 years, you're like, it's going to take me 10 to 15 years to get there.
Right.
I'd rather just break away, you know?
Right. Like, let's just do that.
Politicking is like...
And this is something else, like, you know, we don't have kids. I keep saying that, but it's true. And I think that's an important point because, you know, our equation doing eBay and, you know, doing this full time is definitely different because we don't have kids. But I hear people say when they have kids and they have a job, friends of mine say, you know what, it's great to go to work because
I get away
from my kids.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't know if that's a depressing thing or not, but it's almost like, you know, you get to go somewhere where basically you get to be you.
You have your own time.
Without like your kids and your family, and you can go there and you can like, you know, be a professional, and maybe you have a skill set that you get to actually practice on.
I've heard that from a few people, and actually I've heard that from moms.
Yeah, and so I don't know if that's... I don't mean that as a con, but I hear that, I'm just like, yeah, but what if you could sell on eBay and you could stay at home and you could, you know, be free.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
That I'm gonna kind of put that on the table and let other people that have the kids and the jobs kind of determine the good or bad of that.
What that means to them.
So, you know, I talked about one of the pros was gaining experience.
Yes.
You know, gaining experience is good. But what I found in many jobs I've had is that most jobs don't encourage that much gaining of experience. You know, like when I say experience, you know, like what we do now is that we're like really always experimenting. We always talk about we're doing these experiments.
Right.
Like, will this work? I don't know. Let's just try it, you know?
Yeah.
And then learn from it. I've worked jobs where, you know, they're basically like, I want you to do this. These are your boundaries. Make sure this is done. And then that's about it.
Yes. That was my experience.
And so, you know, I would get a job and it would be like real fun for 3 months, maybe 6 months, because it's something new and you're like learning and interpersonal skills. And then you like on cruise control, autopilot, like, okay, you know, if I don't get promoted or get a new task, this is going to be boring as hell.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, there are some people in the world, they're like, that's great.
Right.
This is great.
Yeah, sure, right.
That's not me at all.
That could be good, you know, where, you know, there's a lot of employers, like, they want conformity and consistency.
Right.
Because, you know, they want to make sure that cog in their kind of their overall plan is just going smoothly, and they want to find people who just like to just show up and just they do that and that works.
I mean,
and you know,
well, that's the problem.
That could be good or bad.
Like, I remember being at my job, and I had a very certain job, and there were people who were above me that I worked for, and I was just like, I want your job. And they're like, oh no, nobody leaves this job. There's never an opening. I'm just like, I mean, okay, I quit.
Did people actually say that?
Oh yeah.
Or you just
No, I mean the
infer
senior people above me,
Yeah.
they were like, number one, they were like, "But you're so good at your job." I'm
Right.
like, "Yeah, I know. I'm really freaking
Right.
good at it,
Well,
and I want your job."
That's why, and I experience this, and I have friends is it's like this that where as we all know, like sometimes that you have to quit a certain job to get a promotion somewhere else.
Yeah.
Because a lot of companies they're like, well, you're so good at doing this thing, we don't want to promote you because then we have to like retrain
Find someone else.
Like, why don't you just keep being that?
Which is actually unfortunate in a lot of organizations and corporations where they don't allow you to jump up and then you leave.
Right.
Like this has happened to someone I know recently where they're like, I know this organization so well. If you don't make me executive director, I'm leaving and all my skills go away. And they're like, oh, wait, don't go.
Right.
So that's...
like your sister just did that where she kind of... she just got promoted to be like head of this organization.
Executive director,
but
yeah.
only because she threatened to quit.
Yes.
And they realized if they didn't offer her that job, they would leave. It's lose a very talented...
ambitious...
but also someone that had a lot of institutional... is knowledge.
Years of institutional knowledge.
And that kind of sucks when you have to kind of like...
threaten them.
It's kind of like you're playing this poker game, you know?
And she did it, so
and I know that was a long 6 months for her of like feeling snubbed and,
Yep, because but she did come through. But
she finally stood up for herself.
So it's interesting to feel like you have to really push to do that when you're in a position that we are where we're like, I want to do this thing. And you're like, go do it. Right. It's such a different
And then
feeling.
This is something that I have had my entire working experience where I always have these moments on a job where I'm just like, why am I doing this?
I just had that moment.
It's just like 2:00 in the afternoon. I've been working all day and, the day is not done. And, there's all these things I know I have to deal with. And I'm just like, why am I doing this? Like, I don't care, like I'm good at what I do. Like, yeah, I like solving problems, but ultimately, like, I don't care about this. Like, this is so transitory at the end of the day. Like, this is going to be done. I'm going to like go home and eat something and I'm going to be like, I
gotta do it again.
I don't
tomorrow.
care,
I you know what I felt when I was in a job too, where I felt like there were things outside of the office, outside of my life that I was like grasping for. I was like, I want those things, and I'm in this office, like I just was like, my potential felt like it was like fizzling away,
And like I don't know if this is a curse or a blessing, but I have this thing where I'll sit there, and I've done it many times, where I just sit there and I think, okay, 30 years from now, how am I going to feel about this? And I'm going to be like...
I got to get out.
And like, I'll look over and see someone like 20 or 30 years older than me. I'm just
You're like, no! You know what's so funny though?
I don't like this.
I remember like when you and I met, we were both working at television stations in offices.
Right.
And I think that's when... And you had been there for a while, and I had been there for a little while. And we were just like... We gotta get out.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
we were both basically doing the exact same job, pretty much. You were a teacher, an instructor, and I was a editor.
Right.
But it was so similar, and we were like, let's get out.
Yeah, we definitely gave each other the power to, like, it's gonna be okay. Like, we can do this.
Well, we had each other. I think that helped a lot.
But like this past week, it was good and we did a good job and everyone was happy. But like, it's also that amount of stress that we do not experience on a day-to-day basis. Like,
not even close.
I think it might have been even the second day. It was very long. It was like almost 7:00 at night. We've been up,
forever.
12 something hours. And I remember I was kind of, it's finishing up a task. And someone came in who was upset about something that had happened during the day. And basically I just said, what do you want me to do about it? Like, I mean, I basically kind of blew up at them, or I was not, it's respectful to them, and they got they got very angry, and they were like, "You can't talk to me like that."
Did they say that? Essentially,
in a man of words, and I am.
oh my God.
It kind of reminds me why I love eBay, because you don't have to like meet your customer and talk to them. And I did exactly what I shouldn't, like we shouldn't do with eBay people. It'd be like when you start getting emotional. Email. But then as soon as I said that and she got angry, I did the silent as a method where I just kind of like
listened to her.
I just kind of went silent and she did her thing, and then I actually had to apologize the next day just because I was feeling bad about what I said. And she was just like, "Oh, I shouldn't have. I blew up at you. I shouldn't have done it."
I do want to say this about that situation. I think both parties were super frazzled.
Sure.
And you guys went like this. Boom.
Sure. Right.
So I actually want to like not put it all on you, because I think that other person was really
You're like
being
the best
crazy.
Partner, Ryan. You're the best partner.
No, because I wasn't in the room when it happened, right. So I have an outside perspective of like how stressful everybody was. Right. So
it was a very long day, but that's the other thing about like when you work jobs for other people, there is that level of stress that when we talk about stress sale on eBay, it is nothing.
So different.
It's like living in a different
ridiculously
country.
different.
Right.
That's why when I always say like there's an eBay and personal like level of stress, and then there's like working for other people, like it's a different. It's two parallel worlds.
Right.
It's just completely different. Like there's we'll talk about the stresses of eBay with customer issues we're having and handling time and all that stuff. Totally different level of stress.
Yeah.
Like not even freaking close.
It's not like a stress of like if I might not be able to show up the next day, or I just I'm having these existential crises. It's like they're like, my blood pressure is up like about 1 degree or whatever,
Yeah.
So, the thing about, I noticed that there are more people who are commenting on the blog, which is
a lot more people.
People that might have been listening for a while, but they're just now popping their head up, and I'm seeing a lot of the, I started my store, it's doing good, and I'm almost, this is my goal before I can actually quit. It's my job, or I'm trying to talk my partner into joining me so we can do this together. And I just always got to remind people that working for it yourself means being self-directed.
Yes.
Like that's really important. Like you have to be like, there's no roadmap at all.
Yeah.
And maybe that's why people buy those like systems, like the Amazon system, because
the gurus,
because it's almost like that they want to be told, like, just give me the roadmap, I'll do that, and that's fine. I find like, because each of our situations are different,
right?
Some people who have like little tiny infants is going to have different, like that equation of what they need to do versus someone that has like 3 teenage kids versus someone
who don't have kids,
who's like us who don't have kids, or versus someone who's retired and is just supplementing their income from Social Security. Like, so that's why there's no one way to do this.
Right, and that's actually a really good thing, I think, because anybody can do it. It's like Cindy and her husband. I mean, they are cranking it out.
Yeah.
And that's what they need to do, and that's what they want to do. If you're in college and you're doing this for like extra money, it's going to be totally different, you know, or for us, it's totally different. So,
but, I guess just depending on how you feel about not having like where anything can happen, that can either be super scary or it's super exciting.
Right.
And often it's kind of both.
Right.
Like,
yes,
it really just depends on the mood of the day, but you kind of like start just going. I just love that with eBay we can work hard, invest our time, and then it grows. And it's not, like where I talked about when I had a job where I just felt like I do a task, it'd be done. I do the same task. Like I never felt like it's growing. People that have listened to us, we've grown because we've like started another business. we're traveling,
Yeah, I
we're
mean,
learning.
it's like, I feel like when you have a job, sometimes you're just like on this like train track and you're
Right.
just like going straight, and you might go over here and go over there and you might go up, but you're just like on this track. But for us, we're on, we have a path, and but you can
No, I think like the job is more like the stereotypical like hamster wheel.
Okay,
You're
that's
just like
different. Okay.
you're just moving,
You're in a circle.
There's, a lot of like energy being done,
Yeah.
but you're kind of in the same place.
Right.
I mean, if you have a job where you're being challenged all the time and like growing and
then
experimenting, that's awesome. Like that's the dream job.
Yeah, you should stay if you love it.
I never really had those jobs. So,
Yeah. Yeah. So we are on a train track and we are going forward.
That's right. It's a nice train track. Like
I love the train.
Our train car gets nicer. The food gets better.
We have the dining car, the observation car. Yeah, you are talking.
Sometimes I put it on a
nerd.
jetpack and I fly away, and then I come back to the train.
Okay, this is like a movie.
So, working for ourselves means that we can constantly experiment, and that's what I love about it. Is that we've talked about this. Like we started out selling clothes, and we still sell some clothes, and then we
sell a lot of clothes.
I'm kind of bored of clothes. Let's experiment with like shoes. What are we doing?
Let's get some furniture.
Yeah.
What the hell?
Let's start getting let's go to like a flea market and look, there's all this junk. Oh my God, there's like really amazing little things, and someone will buy this, and that's the thing we love.
Let's buy 800 bottles of nail polish.
Yeah, sure.
Why not?
Let's try selling some military equipment.
Yeah.
Like and that's why we call ourselves scavengers. Like that was a term that made sense to us.
You're a scavenger. You're out there. You're like, what's this? Yep, let's try that. What's this?
That's the key of what we do, because if we can't scavenge anything cool, then we can't really be who we are. We can't do what we do.
And it's more fun.
Yeah.
I mean, I really think that people believe that your work should not be fun. You need to go to a job and be chained to a desk, and it's not fun.
Yeah.
F that. Okay, I didn't swear, guys. Have fun. What the heck? Life is so short.
So I'm gonna post this link on the blog. So Mikey and Wendy are old hosts who were doing this show. It's with us. They're definitely into experimenting.
Oh, so they are all about it.
Currently, they're spending their summertime traveling in America. They bought a
Honda Element.
Right.
So if anyone knows what a Honda Element is, some of you might have one. It's this awesome car that can be kind of converted into a camper.
Yeah, and there's actually kind of a group of people online where they post photos of where they make little beds in the back.
It's so cool.
And they show how they cook, and so they're camping in this thing. And there's this photo that I'm going to post on the blog where Mikey and Wendy are. So they're also buying things and selling them from the road. I guess they're like some kind of state park, and there's like a beautiful lake in the mountains, and a Wendy's packing on a picnic table, and Mikey has a printer,
a little thermal printer
that he has hooked up to his phone.
Yeah, he's tethered his phone, so he's got phone service,
and he's printing eBay labels.
I'm just like, that they did it.
Yep,
it's incredible. They have the mobile setup.
Like that's in their equation. Like we want to just camp for the summertime like vagabonds.
They've got their flat rate envelopes.
And we just want to sell things as we can. We just need to make probably X amount of dollars and we're good to go. I love that.
It's when we saw that photo, we just like stared at it and we're like, they have the printer.
Yep.
They have the laptop. They have the tethering. They have the picnic table. That's so cool.
Yeah, I mean, like there was no roadmap for them.
they were like, we could do this.
I'd love to talk with Mikey more about that.
We totally are going to have a talk with them online.
That's the exciting thing. Right now, I mean, not to get too crazy about it, but I mean, we really do have all the tools. It's kind of like a little golden age where you can sell from anywhere to anyone on the planet. All that you need is like a phone with internet connection.
It's so amazing. It's really incredible.
We have a great postal system in America, and it's just like just whatever it is you're trying to do, you can do it. You know,
It's so funny. This is a little side note, but we're running an Airbnb. We're staying in an Airbnb. We're running an eBay business. And all it takes is my phone. Like
Right.
the other day, we were talking to renters who were going to check
Yep.
in a couple days when we get back. We were talking to the guy we were renting from, and we were answering eBay questions and taking offers. It was just like, my life is in this phone,
That's
right?
right.
Like, it's just so,
you
it's
can make a
amazing.
living through the end of this Ethernet cable.
We have this hippie friend who we always joke about, who a couple years ago was like,
Back in 2006, actually.
2006,
Yeah.
2007, he was like, man, you can just make a living through the end of an Ethernet cable. And we were like, what are you talking about? And he was right. He's
He was
right.
Yeah, that was
Yes.
definitely our California Silicon Valley friend. He
California millionaires. Yep.
So I think the other thing about for us is that eBay is more a means to an end, rather than just a job that you're just making money and whatever, paying for your house. eBay's more like this thing we do, and it's Mikey and Wendy are really good at this. You know, like they just sell on eBay to make money, and it funds all their other pursuits.
Yes.
And that's the way we've been using eBay. Like,
Yeah.
You know, we've been really excited about, you know, working on like redoing this house.
Yep.
And so
eBay paid for that.
on eBay to pay for that. And now we have these other like ideas that we've been talking about of we'll take the money from here and we'll put it over here.
Exactly.
And so that's the exciting thing. It's
Right.
like it's funding whatever your ideas are. Maybe you want to buy like a local sports team or something. I don't know. You could do anything like
Well,
that.
and also, like, for us, too, and I remember watching some reality TV show where they said this. It was Tabitha Takes Over. And she was like, what you need to do is you're making all this money in your crazy, awesome, great, successful business. You need to put it back into the business.
Right.
Because number one, you don't have to pay taxes on that because you're building your business. And number two, you're building your business.
Yeah.
So for us, you know, these ideas that we have are all these other
Yeah.
little like business pursuits.
It's like I don't hear about that enough, and maybe people are doing this, but we just haven't heard them. Like, you know, maybe someone's like, my partner wants to start like a food truck,
Right.
and so we'll sell on eBay, save up enough, we'll buy the food truck,
Yep.
and then that will be our other business.
Yep.
So we'll be selling breakfast and lunch, you know, down at the town square during
Right.
the day, and then we do eBay at night. You know, I don't know.
Uh-oh, now you have an idea in my head. Now I want a food truck.
You know, so anything like that, you know,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I love, actually, I think it's Brian. He's talking about him and his wife. They're talking about buying like a warehouse that's also their home.
Right.
And maybe, I think there was like an idea of having a store in there too. You know, it's like,
Like a multi-purpose
why not?
thing.
You know?
Yeah, it sounds
Like-
cool, you know?
Like, and that's I think what makes eBay exciting for us is that it's not just one thing, and that's why I think I
Right.
sometimes get bored of like, I don't know, I'm not trying to be an Amazon hater, but I sometimes hear those guys just like they're just making a lot of money, and I don't really see what's going on.
Well,
you
that's what I am always trying to say. What do you want the money for?
Right.
You know, okay, fine. You want a fancy car? Great. Well, what after that? Like, you have a nice car. Okay,
Yeah.
what are you going to do? You know, like, what's interesting? What's
But,
fun?
You know, some people like that's what they
Yeah,
want.
right.
so.
That's fine.
Okay, so that's hopefully we've just kind of walked you through some thought ideas.
I think we needed to decompress from our.
Yeah.
That was a big decompression right there. Like,
I think we wanted to
boom.
just kind of like remember why we do what we do and why we've chosen not to pursue this other careers we had, which I think we could have been pretty successful in.
And we
if we
were.
had
I
stuck
mean, we
with
were
it.
successful, and we kind of moved
Yeah.
a little bit away, you
So-
know. So, and there's a reason.
So let's talk about our numbers. So we're like all up on eBay, like, oh, okay, it solves all the problems. Let's talk about our numbers.
Our numbers are so bad.
This was like,
Oh
this
God.
is probably one of our lowest weeks in a long time, but there's it's reasons for this.
Sure.
So we always like to talk about our numbers each week because it, anchors what we talk
Right.
about and helps new people who have never heard of it. What does it look like in reality in your bank account? So
Yeah.
this week, we sold 21 items.
Yes.
That's it. So normally we're like, you know,
Double that.
3 times that.
Yeah.
We made $978, which again, we normally make 2-3 times that normally.
Yes.
Our highest price item was $180, like a painter's box, which was good. So really, like almost 25% of what we made just came from one item, which is
insane.
But our average price was $46.
It's a great average price.
So we didn't sell a whole lot, but what we did sell, I mean, that's pretty good.
Now, I think part of this equation is we have a really long handling time because we're traveling. Right. So I think that really puts the kibosh on your sales.
There are 2 reasons why we had low sales, in our opinion, and so that's why we aren't too stressed about it. One is, like Ryan said, when we take these trips now, instead of putting our store on vacation, we just change our handling time. And so I think that either stops people from buying from us or
it just
puts
changes.
Us down in the rankings.
Yeah.
So, but we're still selling stuff. The other thing is we now haven't listed anything on eBay
like 3 weeks.
in 3 weeks.
I mean,
nothing, because we were busy preparing before
doing the rental house, blah blah blah.
So when I think about that, I'm like, that's
amazing.
Amazing.
We basically made $1,000. Right. Just doing nothing.
We made almost $1,000.
Accepting offers.
Yeah, accepting offers. We weren't you know, really doing anything, barely even answering its questions sometimes.
Yeah, so that's pretty amazing.
So that's good. And so this lets us do other things, and we'll go back and we'll start back, you know, a listing on eBay, and our numbers will go up. But, you know.
But the other thing, too, is, like, we were making money on our rental house while we were away, and we were working this job. So we were having a triple income. Yep. Which is a great thing.
And that's the thing, I think, why we're now big proponents of taking your eBay profits and investing in some other kind of businesses, because really, now that we have a rental business, which we'll talk about in a bit, it's really taken the stress off of, like, I'm not as stressed about our eBay numbers, because we don't depend purely on eBay anymore. Right. And so it's kind of nice. So it's, you know, it's like a slow week on eBay, big deal.
We had a good week on Airbnb. Yeah, exactly. So, and that was the reason we wanted to do the rental, was because we're like, let's get this other thing going so we can have both things going.
Instead of what people talk about, like diversifying your income, you know, they're like, instead of just selling shoes, sell, like, you know, poodle skirts. I mean, you know.
Oh, I love poodle skirts.
Like, we're talking about diversifying your income, like selling eBay, and then, you know, like open a go-kart factory, you know?
Dude, where are you getting these?
You can do that. Because you know what? I have no limits.
You really don't.
Interesting, you know, I've been doing this the past, you know, couple months where, okay, so we sold 21 things. Out of the 21 things, 5 things were under $30. So it seems like
only 5 things. That's good.
But it seems like it's been pretty consistent since I started doing this. It's almost like about a quarter of what we sell is under $30, or the low, you know, kind of a lower dollar items.
Well, we've been selling a lot of pants and shirts, and a lot of those are $24.99. Right. So that really $19.99, $24.99, and they're great sellers. We have a lot of them. Right. And they help pad out the numbers, you know.
But what's interesting, though, we sold 7 things over $50.
Yeah,
so that's nice. You know, a third of what we sold was over $50, and that was nice. Yeah. So things we sold this week, you know, we didn't sell a whole lot, but it's like I said, our highest dollar item was this paint box that we found.
Now, I would call it almost it's a suitcase. It's like a painter's suitcase. Right. And it's an amazing story because we're hanging out in Amsterdam.
Last year, right?
Last October or whenever. Right. Jay comes back to the apartment. I'm just hanging out working, whatever, with this big ass box. And I'm like, first of all, how in the hell are we going to get that home? And second of all,
we'll figure it out.
It's amazing.
And
it's
basically,
beautiful.
I found it in the trash. It was just someone was throwing out the trash out of an apartment, and it was like one of those, you know, boxes that painters, like oil painters, put all their stuff in. Except it was
big.
Twice as big
It's a suitcase.
as those little small. It's briefcases.
It's wood.
Covered in paint, so it's really beautiful with like a metal handle, and you open it up and it's got all the places to put all your paints. And
it's amazing.
I remember we had stuffed it with other stuff we had bought. We taped it up, and
we just used it as our check-in luggage.
Yeah, and
you just threw it on the conveyor.
So,
like, here you go.
It
was fine. It was free.
10 months later, we make $180 on it.
Yeah, I think we had it up for $199, and we took an offer of like $179 or something, which is great.
And then also, we sold, just happened, it's this week, we had posted that it's video of that big flea market that we went to in Amsterdam, and we had bought a helmet, this like fiberglass.
It was like a fiberglass military helmet.
And we sold it for $50 this week.
Yeah, I think we bought it for €1.
Yep.
So 2 Amsterdam items sold, which is really fun.
Now, this was a sad thing. So we get this offer. We bought all this nail polish. We bought 800 bottles of nail polish
for 30 cents each.
30 cents each. We get an offer of $5 a piece, and they want 20 of them. We're like
20 bottles.
We're
right?
like, okay,
so that's $100.
And we do it, and then we get the message. Oh, my daughter.
You guys know this message.
Shouldn't have bought this. She took over my account.
She was logged into my account. She did it by accident. First of all, I'm calling bullshit on that.
Please cancel.
Second of all,
why do you call bullshit on that?
Because I just think that lady did it herself and was like, I shouldn't have done this.
Oh, really?
Buyer's remorse.
So anyway, that was one of those bummers where we were like, okay, it's been a slow week. Cool, a big sale.
A big sale and our first sale of nail polish. Yeah. Nope. Not happening.
But you just cancel it.
Yeah, it'll sell. Another cool sale was I had at the farmhouse, we replaced the porch lights because we didn't like the ones, and plus we added like 3 more lights. They just whatever, they look crappy. But I cleaned them up.
Yep.
They're made of solid metal and nice beveled glass. So actually, once I cleaned them up, I'm like, these are kind of nice.
They were like copper, right?
Yeah, they had like a copper finish. They weren't made of copper, but they had a copper finish. They're probably from Lowe's, like 10 years ago, whatever. So I put $50 each on them. I did $50 quantity 2 because I'm nerdy like that. I'm like, I'm getting the most money I can. And I sold them. So it was $100 for those porch lights that probably just came from Lowe's 10 years ago, the former owners.
And we love scavenger stories like that, where if you have something, instead of giving it away or throwing it away, you sell it.
Sell it. And what's great is I bought extra lights to go on the porch. Like we extended how many lights, because it's a pretty big wraparound porch. And I spent $100 on those 2 lights that I got. So basically I got the extra lights for free.
Yep.
So that's the best.
And so the other cool thing we sold, I'll let you talk about these.
Yeah, so
they're seashells.
They're mother of pearl seashells, like whatever that seashell is that they make caviar dishes out of. Now I learned this because apparently
I had no idea about this.
I just learned this recently. I have no idea how I learned this. I don't know what came about in my Wikipedia rabbit hole. But apparently putting caviar in metal dishes or other kinds of dishes will flavor the caviar. So you need like a natural like shell dish to put the caviar in so it doesn't change the flavor. Whatever. So I have these 4 huge, thick mother of pearl natural carved seashells that hold caviar. I've had them up for 2 years. I sold them for $96.
Yep.
So, hooray for that.
And someone was just selling them as just like seashells, but they turned out that they were much cooler.
They're caviar dishes. Right. They're like high-end.
And this is a good example of like Ryan doing the research.
I'm like, what the hell is this?
And taking these items like, oh, it's like a crafting seashell. No. You put it in a different context,
right?
And you get the different kind of buyer. Like, oh, that's not like a crafting seashell that I will it put on the table and put some potpourri in. Like these are like
fancy dishes for caviar at some fancy party.
Right.
It reminds me of we found these. I think we found them at the same estate sale. These escargot dishes, and at first glance they look like, if you've never had escargot and you're not like fancy people like me, It looks like something you'd put deviled eggs in. And you're like, oh, deviled eggs. Oh, no big deal. And then you're like, oh, those are actually, like, one dish is worth, like, $50, $60, $75.
I could put my hot wings in there.
Yeah, like, so I've sold those for a lot of money, too, because I'm like, these are weird.
Now, I think this, too, for those of us that like its numbers, let's do those, its numbers. It took us 2 years.
2 years to sell those.
To sell these. So I can hear the people saying, like, why do you hold on to stuff that long? Just dump it. Put it on auction. Someone's going to give you, $25 for them, $30.
And
just
you get them out.
Sell them. Okay, we pay 5 cents a month to have that
listing.
A listing up. So that's 60 cents a year. So 2 years is $1.20. So we probably paid no more than $5 for these things.
Max.
It costs $1.20 to keep it up, so it's $7.20.
And we made $96.
$96. So if we had sold it for, let's say we were lucky and got $30.
Yeah.
I mean, we got $60 more just by being patient. Really, a listing fee is nominal.
Don't think about the listing fee.
Doesn't even make sense.
Don't even think about it.
So I hope that was a helpful thing, like example for people who are afraid of holding on to items that need to find someone that needs a mother of pearl caviar dish. These people these people are not very common, so you have to wait for them.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, so what we did is this past week we kind of talked about it. We worked. We didn't enlist a single thing. We're on the beach in San Diego right now. We're like 4 blocks away.
We just chilling.
It's like we're both barefoot. We're like Ryan looks like a beach girl.
Like Jay looked at me today. I'm wearing shorts and like a tank top and sunglasses. He's like, "You look like you belong here."
You got your tattoos. I'm like,
I like showed off my tattoos. I have big tattoos.
So we've been in San Diego now for a couple of nights. One thing, we got an email from someone, I think it was pretty anonymous, but they were like, if you're going to be in San Diego, here's a flea market.
It's called Kobe's Swap Meet. So any San Diego people, you're like, oh yeah, I know what you're talking about.
So we went, it's yesterday, and
it was actually raining and cold when we went.
It was raining, so
we were
like I guess people in San Diego don't expect rain, so like basically everyone's stuff just got rained on. It was really weird.
We were like, I want to buy this, but it's full of water. So
these guys had all these electronics that were just getting rained on, and I don't think they knew what to do. They were like throwing like blankets on them that were getting wet. So, but anyway, so here's what happened with that. Yeah, we were really tired, low energy. Yeah, and everything looked like junk, And so I know I've heard people complain in Southern California of just you go to these things and there aren't good selection, and we did experience what people talk about where you're like, okay, how that's cool, how much? $40. You're like, that's how much I would sell it for.
That's like pretty much, I mean, it's so different. Like, we kept being like, what is up with this? And we're like, oh right, we're in a major American city. Like, when we're shopping at a flea market and we're like, oh, check out this leather briefcase, $1. Where we live, they're like $2. Get it out of my booth.
Right. And whereas really this is the way I always imagine it should be, where people are getting stuff and they do a little bit of a research and they know what it is, and
they want the high price.
They put an appropriate price.
They want $40.
So, however, that being said, I'm not going to let these people off the hook. Like, I'm not going to give you the excuse, like, see,
it's hard.
It's not worth it. Like, it all depends on where you live. We've still found some cool stuff. We found 2 things that we paid $4 for that will probably make $100.
Yeah, we did.
One is an old photo album that's blank that people love,
from the late 1800s. That kind of photo album.
$2, and then we found a Stanford
yearbook from Stanford, 1951.
And I know someone's going to pay $50 for that.
$50.
It may take a while to sell it, but we'll get it. So and that was with us being super low energy and kind of not being really.
It's cold, it's rainy, and we're like, I'm just so tired from the week.
It was fun.
It was fun. And so that was a combination of Kobe's swap meet, and we went on estatesales.net and we went to 2 estate sales. Yeah, I don't know.
One was like a fake estate sale where it's basically like
A store.
antique store,
Yeah.
but maybe they had just brought the people's stuff into their store.
Maybe I read the listing wrong.
Yeah.
I don't know. But the second one was in an actual house.
Oh, I think I love estate sales just to go into people's houses.
I'm telling you.
It was like they had the same floor in their kitchen that they had from the 1960s. Like, if you could install that floor now, it would be worth so much money.
Well, it's so funny going into. I think it was built in the early 70s, late 60s, early 70s, and they hadn't done a thing to it. You're like, like Jay made this joke in one of this room. It was like the man cave room. Shag rug, dark wood paneling. I'm like, I feel like I'm in a cave, an actual cave.
Dark orange curtains.
Jay walks in the room and he goes, "It's 1973, gentlemen." And everyone laughed in the room because it was just like incredible. It was a time warp.
Yep.
But that was a depressing sale because there was nothing there. The photograph thing, but either it got shopped or there was nothing there to begin with.
It happens. I mean, I think that's the other thing when people complain, like, I can't find anything. It's like, you just got to keep doing it. Like,
just go to every estate sale.
Like I always say, I always assume I've got to go to 9 places to find the one sale that is really good.
Yeah.
Often the odds are better, but I'm willing. But I just
just got to keep going.
That's what it's going to take. And we only went to a couple places, so we didn't do the odds well enough.
Right.
And then we're here mainly because it's your aunt and uncle.
My aunt and uncle live in San Diego, so we're basically here to visit them.
And they are my family, but I love them. I think I realized, just especially as we go older, is I like hanging out with other people that don't have kids. Like, it's interesting hanging out with other adults.
It's really different, yeah.
Who have chosen
they don't have kids.
Not to have kids.
Yeah.
And it's not a sad thing. It's kind of like that's a choice that they made.
Just what they wanted to do.
God bless people that have kids, because if not, the human race wouldn't continue. But it's like,
I mean, you're right.
I think growing up again, it's like you have to have a job. You have to have kids.
Yeah.
No, you don't have to have either of those things, and you can still be a part of communities and help people and have
I think what's hard,
full lives.
Because I'm 35, so like people I know are having kids, they're on their second kid.
Orion is like stalking her friends, like, did you have a second kid?
It's just, I think it's just weird for me because like I'm at, that's the age. I'm expected to have a kid and have like 3 kids and whatever.
You're unexpected.
No, but you know what I mean? Like you see your friends from college and you're like, oh dude, they like have kids. But I find like when we hang out with people who have kids, like, a 2-year-old, you're like, God, you can barely have a conversation because like every second is like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Where are they? Where are they?
All of the parents right now are just laughing at you.
I know they're laughing at me, but that's why it's fun to hang out with people who don't have kids, because you just sit there and you talk politics and you talk about architecture and you talk about cool things.
It's like, I mean...
Yeah, I know. I'm going to get a lot of email about that, I'm sure.
I don't think I think we're still at that point where we're not sure which way we're going to go.
Because we still have a little bit of time.
Yeah.
Like, I definitely love children. I have a blast around kids.
I think you'd be a great mom.
I have so much fun.
We're not quite sure, but the choices in my mind is like, have a kid and all the good things that come with having a kid, or you don't have a kid and you like when I'm hanging out with your aunt and uncle, they've been able to like have a full life because they're getting older, a full life where they've just been able to like go down so many paths and take their interests as far as they want to go without
limitation.
Without really...
There's no limitation.
Without having to take care of someone else that needs so much attention.
They just do their own thing, and
so
they can do that.
Those are 2 interesting choices.
Yeah, totally. I like kids. I'm anti-children.
You like kids. But, yeah. So we're going to briefly talk about... We've been doing it, recently since we started to rent this farmhouse we have, and
we're talking about the rental property.
Yep. So we've been gone, and it's been the first time we've been gone, and we've still been renting the place because our friend has been taking care of it.
Yeah, people always ask us, you're going to travel, but you have a rental. What are you going to do? Well, we are paying someone who lives right nearby us. He's a good friend.
He's like our age. He's smart. He gets it. I just text him, and we kind of just talk through text about when the person's going to come, and he asks us his questions. He's cleaning the place for us.
He gets it.
We trust him, and then we'll go back and we're
going to write him a check.
Yep, we'll write him a check, and this is kind of like a test run. I mean, I guess we'll really find out when we get back to make sure it's all good, but so far, I just text the people who are going to check in. I'm like, we won't be there.
Right.
Our friend will be there. And so far, it's been good. I haven't heard anything good or bad.
Yeah, it's great. So I think people assume we're just having someone do it as a friend for free, and that's crazy. No, we're definitely paying this person.
And, that's why I said about, like, if we now have a slow week on eBay, I'm not too stressed about it because we're making money, like, on this other business we have. So this week, we rented 3 nights, which isn't great. So out of 7 nights, we only rented 3 nights. It was one of those things where we're struggling, like, how do we get the weekdays?
The weekdays, the weird, odd weekdays.
Because we've rented almost every weekend for the summertime.
Yeah.
June, July, and August. There's only a couple weekends left. But we have these big gaps where, like Monday through Thursday, we're trying to, those only get covered when someone rents like a Thursday to a Sunday or a Friday to a Tuesday. We've only had a couple where they actually rent like
a
Monday
whole week,
to Wednesday.
Like this is our vacation week.
So I think that's our challenge right now.
This is interesting.
It's funny thing is Airbnb has a forum where people that have properties talk. And my God, it reminds me of the
eBay just like eBay
forums.
They have their, when weeks are slow or when you're not getting messages, people say Airbnb is throttling my listing.
Yep.
Just like on eBay.
Yep. It's just like we
thought about it at first.
Because people they come up with these very well thought out kind of theories. They're like, well, okay, here's what happens. When you're new, they want you to get a lot of bookings.
They boost your listing.
And they boost your listings. But then when you've been on for a while, they slow it down so the new people can get the bookings. I mean...
It's just... I mean...
It's...
my acceptance rate went down, so then whatever, I had to deny someone, so now I'm not getting... You're just like, no. Do not think like that.
Yeah.
You're overthinking it. Like, just keep working, make it better,
So, yeah, I mean, that's... And I just think that's a good example of when you run a business, especially when you're dealing with something online, that really you have no control.
Yeah.
And that I guess maybe it makes people feel better. They're like, it's not me. It's like
it's this
other thing it's their fault. When really it's
their algorithm.
It's just a retail cycle. It's the rental cycle.
Yeah.
It's just, no one happens to be looking at our place
at this moment
on a Monday. I mean, it's just one of those things. Okay, so back to eBay with our customer issues. So yeah, we've changed our handling time. So what, it was like 10 business days?
10 business days, yeah.
And so, in this time, we didn't send a message when someone bought. We just like... It says a handling time, so everything's transparent.
Right.
We don't have to say anything, and we have gotten a couple of messages from people that bought things like, "Where's my item?
When are you shipping?" And so I do send the message where I'm like, "As listed on our handling time, we're traveling, so we'll ship it, when we get back next week."
Did anyone write back and say no problem?
Someone I think wrote back no problem, but everyone's just been quiet and not asked for a refund.
But the reason why changing the handling time is important because eBay will then back us up
if someone says not received,
upset or something because they knew what the deal was.
They'll be like, "Yep, I see that you said you would ship it in 10 to 12 days."
Now we did get a negative feedback this week from a woman. We talked about it last week. She bought a pair of shoes from us. She started a hassle-free its return.
For item not fitting.
Right. And she even printed a label, and then she canceled it.
She closed the return. I guess it's called a return case, I would say. She closed the return, And then she wrote us a message and said, this is the weirdest thing. Can I return this for item not described? Because these aren't a size 9.5.
Even though it says they're 9.5.
It has it listed.
And we measured it, and the measurement corresponds
with
to
a women's
the
9.5.
So she was just trying to get out of having to pay
shipping and the restock fee.
So what we did was we just did the silent method. We were like, if you have a chance to return it officially, normally we'll accept it.
Yeah, we'll take it back.
But it was almost like she's trying to get a partial refund, really.
Right. She wants to keep on.
Like she had buyer's it's remorse, and she didn't want to have to lose any money on it because she changed her mind.
Yeah.
So we just didn't say anything. Like, she can send them if she wants. If not, then that's her choice. So she decided to leave us negative feedback, which to me is weird, is that she kept them. So she says that they don't fit her, but instead of sending them back for almost all of her money back, she's choosing to keep them. That doesn't make sense to me.
Well, what I think is weird is when someone asks if they can return it for item not as described, of course you're going to be like, no. Like, oh, you want to blame me now? Like, that's like a ridiculous thing to ask someone.
So,
of course I'm not going to respond.
So we haven't had a whole lot of time to deal with this stuff, but you did call eBay once.
I called once, and they said no, which I find to be incorrect. Well, because you're like, they started a return. She said it didn't fit. She closed the return, and then she left me negative.
You're preaching to the choir.
So I'm going to call, and I'm going to call again, and I'm going to call again until it gets removed.
I think this is really, I mean, I like it in one sense that you just keep calling back till you find the person who understands your point of view. I just think it's weird of eBay why they wouldn't make a system to where you get one chance, you're going to get someone like to look at it and make a choice, and then it like gets closed, like sorry, no, and then we aren't taking any more. It's just weird it's weird they don't keep notes, and they don't like the customer service reps don't like leave notes for each other, so it just seems like really inefficient, It's
inefficient for them. It's inefficient for us.
Right.
Like,
but I like it because
you do have the chance to change it.
You keep calling till you get it changed.
Right.
For the most part.
For the most part. I mean, there have been times where you're like, absolutely no.
I mean, we know when we've done something wrong or when the buyer is making a good point. Like, okay, we have a neutral and sometimes even negative feedback where it's like, okay, yeah, I see your point of view. Like,
yeah,
whatever.
Fine.
We'll eat it.
But this one, I'm like, I feel justified, so we'll see. I'll update you all very detailed into what happens.
So, some eBay news.
Oh my god, we need like an opening.
I just, people either email me links or I just find them as I'm just it's reading its news. It was interesting. There was this article that, and again, we'll link to all this on the blog at scavengerlife.com. It's woman wrote this article about she has a mother who had all this cool stuff that she always wanted to get when her mother was older, or died.
Like she wanted to inherit this stuff.
The problem was that her mother got Alzheimer's, and what her mother would do was her mother would just give stuff away to like strangers.
Yeah.
So it was kind of sad. The daughter was like, yeah, there were these awesome dishes and these photos of like my family, like all these things, and like I would show up and like they would be gone, and the mother wouldn't remember who she gave it to.
Yeah.
And so her mother died. So it was interesting. What the daughter did then was she said, well, then I just started going to yard sales and estate sales and auctions, and I started buying stuff like what my mother had, to remind me of the
nostalgia.
Mother. I think it's the perfect little story because that's what we sell to people.
Exactly.
A lot of what we sell is based on it's nostalgia. So if you're picking up that piece of junk and you're like, why would anyone want this? People are putting all this emotional attachment to it.
It's like that weird duck doll I sold.
Yeah.
It was like, this is the weirdest junkiest. I don't know, but
Kinda
it's
dirty.
something. Yeah, but
It
I'm
meant
just.
so much to
It
the
meant
family.
so much. It was like this symbol of their childhood and their travels and
Right.
their, jokes and laughs and just. And you're like, this silly little thing that
Yep.
I found on a thrift store shelf that someone was throwing in the
Yep.
garbage.
And then you
And I like revitalized it for
connected
these
it. Yeah, it's
people.
going to
It's
last
like-
another generation.
It's just so funny.
So I think that's interesting. The other thing I saw was we talked about 6 months ago. Actually, Mikey and Wendy were talking about they had been buying some stuff in Alibaba. And reselling it. And Wendy was talking about like I'm buying like North Face jackets for $2.
And it was so funny because I went on Alibaba and I looked at it and I'm like, these are fake. These are not real.
And other people who listen to the podcast
Also wrote in and said that.
It would wrote, this is all
They're knockoffs.
right. And so there's an article where Alibaba is being sued by these 5 big name brands like Gucci, Ralph Lauren, Polo, and some others for infringement.
Yeah, they're like these are knockoffs.
Alibaba's this huge Chinese company that's breaking into its market, and it's like if you want to play in this field,
you can't compete against us.
You need to play by the rules. You can't allow these people to sell knockoffs.
Right.
So yeah,
and don't they have like aren't they publicly traded in like Hong Kong or something?
Something I don't know nothing about that stuff.
They I'm pretty sure they are. So that's bad.
I think that's interesting, and I don't know if when I read about the Amazon sellers, I think some of them buy their stuff through Alibaba. I mean, not all the stuff on there is obviously counterfeit, but
yeah, because some of the stuff is just like basic stuff that you get that's made in China.
Barbecue forks.
Yeah, stuff like that where you're just like that stuff's made in China when you buy it at the store.
Specialty. Wait, they call them what do they call them? Like specialty brands or like personal branded items.
Like the barbecue fork with your face on it on the label.
So you could own the box.
Yeah, it's just silly.
And then things we learned in the comments kind of going on the Amazon thing. Someone linked to Amazon is raising their prices. So
when you say raising their prices,
so it's specifically for FBA people. So when you send your stuff to FBA, and I'm sorry guys, we don't sell on FBA, so you'll forgive me if I'm saying this wrong. You pay for storage.
So they raise their fees.
So they raise their fees. And also, I guess maybe because they're getting so popular, they're running out of warehouse space. So instead of it maybe keep building all these warehouses, they're charging more per square foot, and they're charging you more if it sits there too long. So it's like if it sits there for over 6 months, the price raises more, and if it sits there for 12 months, it raises more. I mean, that would kill our business because we're all about being patient. It seems like Amazon's really like move this stuff
quick,
lower your prices, like let's go.
And I get it, but still,
I wonder if there are forums. Like, does Amazon host its forums or other forums where Amazon sellers get mad at Amazon the same way eBay. sellers just love just to sit there and complain about eBay? Yeah.
eBay.
Because, it seems like that would be...
It's ruining my life.
It would seem like that would be equally as, problematic, where, like, I do read about how Amazon, just like eBay, they're always... tightening the screws, changing the rules. So, what worked at one point might not work now because of the rules are changing, and I just wonder if they're talking about that,
Well, it was interesting because a lot of people were writing to us about our nail polish. You should sell this on FBA. You're going to be going crazy. It's going to sell so much. Well, okay, number one, I have to have a pro account to sell in health and beauty. That's $40 a month.
All right.
Plus, I have to, if I want to sell that stuff in health and beauty, like nail polish or makeup, I have to be a certified seller. So I have to get their permission to sell it. So it's like, it was like one hoop after another. I was like, great. I'm not selling this on Amazon. I'm only selling it on eBay.
Yeah, it seems like we've always found, we do sell, we even have stuff right now that is on Amazon, but it's a merchant
fulfilled, brand new stuff.
Like that stuff that you get at a yard sale,
Yeah.
in the box. We sell so
little
there.
So
but we
little.
also don't have a lot there. It's just, I like eBay because the bar seems really low. It's really still is. As much as people complain about it, it really is.
It's like a flea market.
A big old flea market. You just got to pull up, open
Not
up the
flea
back
market prices, though. You get the good prices.
Yeah, pull up, open up the back of your car, and just start selling.
Doing deals.
Amazon feels more like you, and it's not a bad thing. It's just different, where you have to be more committed. Like, okay, I'm actually opening up a store, and so there's all this paperwork, proof of these stuff.
Right.
Like you got to be pretty organized and pretty committed, because in order to make a good amount of cash, you have to really be selling in bulk, and you have to really, we talk about pipelines, and I always think of these tiny little hoses. With Amazon, I feel like you have to build an actual
oil pipeline
where like people can walk inside of it, because
it's just like massive.
You have to have a lot of stuff flowing to make $4,000 a week.
Yeah, and I'm sure we'll get a lot of emails about that too, but that's fine.
It's okay.
We like emails.
We're on Team eBay, so
Team eBay.
For right
Team
now.
eBay.
Another thing people were talking about on the blog is we were talking about, like, because Amazing Taste was talking about how she does sales, and then people were talking about, well, what are the ways to give yourself better rankings in the search terms? And I always
I hate this conversation.
I always cringe at that, because I always fear that it's new people come on and they start thinking, oh, eBay's like a game that I can
game the search algorithm.
Or like I don't have to focus so much on selling good stuff. I just have to figure out how to get my stuff to the highest ranking. And I get that. If you don't, it is good. It is important to make sure your stuff is showing
being
up.
Seen. Sure.
However, we've always said that it's all about selling quality items with good titles,
good
photos, and giving good consistent customer service. And I'm telling you, that's the secret to gaming the system.
That's it. Just seriously, people. All this talk about, is it 30-day or good till canceled? Or should I end everything and restart it? People, do not waste your time on that. It's too much time. You are thinking too much. You need to just be consistent, high quality items, titles, photos, and customer service. That is the golden cornucopia of eBay success.
Right. So I think it's for us. Again, everyone has different ways to do it, and I think it does depend on what you sell. Right. And that corresponds to the amount of stress you have about where you are in the search rankings. Because it's true, if someone does a search and you're on page 12, that's not going to help you. So we're more zen, because that's why we always focus on finding more unique items.
Right.
A lot of the stuff we sell, there might be 100 things online that's like ours.
If that. And
very often it might be 10 things. So just by the fact that we've scavenged something kind of rare, we're always on the top page.
Right.
Always. And that's why, again, that's been our kind of secret. We also sell, common items that are used, and that's a lot of clothes.
Sure.
So
clothes are household items.
Very often they're more contemporary, or even if they're a vintage, they're still kind of more common. Mm-hmm. But because we buy it so cheap, we can always win on price.
Right.
And that's where you show up in the search rankings, because you're killing people on price.
You can do a better price.
People are like, should I do free shipping because I'm going to get better search ranking? Really, if we're both selling items and we both have it for $20, but you do free shipping on yours, of course you're going to go up higher, but you're also going to not make as much money either. But then if I do 20, and then if you do 25 with free a shipping. It's almost like it's a wash. So I have a cheaper item because yours is more expensive, but you have free shipping. I just don't see that how that's like a. I mean, you only catch the people that are searching specifically for
free shipping. And some people do, and some people don't.
Yeah. And then the other thing is, I guess, and these are the people that really should be concerned about your search ranking, like the people that just sell new stuff.
Yep.
Like the Amazon kind of stuff, or like the retail arbitrage, because everyone's selling the same brand new toy in the box that was on sale at Target.
Yeah.
Now they're reselling online, and then you're just like,
yeah, you're competing on price.
So you have to just race to the bottom kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
The only times we do that is when we find like these things like that. It's nail polish. We got it so cheap, 35 cents. Like people have it up for, $20
to $20 a bottle.
We're selling it for $10 a bottle. So
yeah,
it's not a big seller, it seems like, but we definitely are the best price.
Right. So we'll see.
So that's our way of gaming the system.
There's no gaming the system. I don't even like that term. So it's impossible.
I know.
So the system cannot be gamed.
So we fly back home tomorrow.
Tomorrow, yeah.
Yep. I always don't look forward to flying, but
you know what? We're on Virgin America. It's super comfortable. They have good food. It's all good.
Yeah.
I'm happy.
I just gotta load my iPad with a bunch of movies or whatever and just enjoy it.
You're good to go.
And then, we gotta ship everything that's sold.
We gotta ship stuff that is for real. Luckily we didn't sell very much, so I'm gonna be like, yawn. Yeah. This is easy. That's fine. I like shipping.
And then, so we're home for 3.5 months before we take our next trip.
Yeah, which is nice.
Great. We're home all summer long.
All summer, solid amount of time.
And I think of just the joy of just that. Like, that's our life.
It's so nice.
We get to go home. We get to focus on our business. We have some projects outside of eBay we want to work on.
Yep.
And it's going to be great. Like, I look forward to the next time we talk. We're like, yeah. We would just spend all day long listening, taking pictures.
Hang out with our cats.
Yeah.
Oh, kitties.
I forgot we were cats. Oh.
So silly.
And that's going to be our coming week?
Yeah, I mean, our coming week is packing, shipping, checking in renters, cleaning the rental house.
Yep. And,
that's
and,
the deal.
It's May. It's like kind of, mid-May right now. We talked last month about... our paying off our debt.
Yes.
That, we talked about the debt we had, and that, now that we've built this a rental house, is we're like, all extra its money will go to pay our debt. This is the first month where at the end of the month we're gonna throw chunk of
money
cash
at our debt.
Yeah. And it's gonna be really exciting, and we're gonna talk about we paid off some debt. We're gonna pay some principal down.
Yeah, that will be definitely on the blog.
It's our 5-year plan of getting totally out of no mortgage debt, no anything,
We're starting.
Yeah.
It's the starting gate.
It's it's work out. It's gonna be a while, but
it's starting to work out. You get really tired. Right. Yeah.
Okay, so let's answer some questions.
Hey Jay and Ryan, this is John. I'm calling from Pennsylvania. I've been going through the eBay Radio podcast archives, and there was one where the topic of reporting buyers came up, and I've only done it a couple times myself in the past, and just wondering how you guys feel about that. I know you've talked about blocking buyers. I just found it interesting. The episode I was listening to, Griff was actually almost making fun of a seller reporting a buyer as if it's something that we shouldn't do. Obviously, it's case by case, but just wanted to get your opinion on it, and if you're willing to talk about it, if you've ever done it, what the criteria might be for yourself, and just get your perspective on it. Love the show. Keep it up.
Yeah, so my opinion on this is if you feel like a buyer was really crappy to you and unjustified in opening a case and left you bad feedback, yes, you should absolutely report that buyer.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the only since eBay took away the ability to leave buyers negative feedback,
Yep.
the only recourse you have is to report the buyer. So if enough sellers are saying a certain buyer is, abusing the system, you would hope eBay's keeping that data and will do something, because that's not a good person to have online.
Right.
And and I think that makes sense. I hope Griff really wasn't making fun of that, because I understand why eBay took away the ability to leave a buyer negative feedback, because then it just creates these wars and
retaliation for your neutral negative feedback.
That's not
whatever.
That's not the kind of environment you want to have online anyway. But I think it is good, and I hope eBay does keep those as numbers, because we always do that. We will always report a buyer that we think is either being really abusive, or they just don't seem to understand how to act online, and maybe they need eBay just to say, look, if you buy something, treat people nicely.
Right.
Hello, scavengers. This is Mr. Atari calling from Central California, and I'm in the car on my way to my insanely lucrative job. The only reason I don't do it full time is they pay me a ridiculous amount of money where I work. But I had a question, because I know you guys are into video, and my question was, what items have you used video to sell? I recently tried that out with iRobot Roomba vacuum cleaner, just to demonstrate that, the battery worked for at least 10 or 12 minutes, and that it was buzzing around the floor and cleaning, and I felt like it helped, but it was such a pain with the embed code and trying to figure out, how to drop video into the listing. And I just wanted to hear your thoughts on when you would use it, or if you would use it, if it's worth the time. Would you feel like if eBay made it easier to drop video, like right from a phone into a listing, do you think that would change anything? Anyway, I'd just love to hear your thoughts about video as it relates to eBay, and I love the podcast, and I love you guys, and shout out to Mikey and Wendy. I love those guys too. So anyway, thanks again.
Okay. I rarely use video, but if it's a high-priced item that I want to get a good price on, I will, and it's mechanical or electronic, I will take a video.
I mean, he made the exact right example. Like,
right.
If you have a Roomba, a vacuum cleaner you want to show, and that, I think, gives buyers a confidence to want to pay over $100 for that thing. Yeah.
Like, I've used it to show those old-fashioned, kitchen mixers. If I'm like, I want $150 for this thing, look, it works great. I'll do that. Or like
a sewing machine.
A sewing machine, or a synthesizer keyboard. I'm like, check it out, it works, it's got the plug, and that helps. But the thing about it being a pain, because you had to upload it to YouTube and figure out the embed code, well, you've done it once, so now you know how to do it. Yeah. So it shouldn't be hard the second time.
Yep.
And it helps your listing to get a better price. So that's my opinion.
I can remember a long, long time ago. We're talking like 2005.
2005. I was putting videos in my YouTube.
Well, not only that.
I mean, in my eBay.
We had actually talked to some friends of ours, some other techie friends of ours. We wanted to create a website that was called Hunt and Gather.
Hunt and Gather, yeah.
Where it would be like Craigslist, but it would all be around videos for items being sold, because we thought it'd be much cooler. Instead of just seeing photos, you could actually see the item in a video, like someone putting on the coat, and you could see stuff.
I remember before I moved to New York in 2005, I was embedding links to QuickTime videos on my own server of me modeling clothes, because I was like, it's so much cooler to see a video of it. And it actually helped me sell clothes, but it was real nerdy. It was before YouTube, so. But yeah, I think videos help for certain items. Clothes, not so much, but electronics and things like that, I I think it's good to do it if you want to get a high price and give the confidence, hey, this works. Look, I'm using it.
Yep.
It's proof, you know?
Yep.
Hi, this is Vanessa over in California. Right now I'm listing, and I just finished your podcast, and I'm listing while my kids are playing outside, so trying to multitask here. My daughter told me the other day that she didn't like her pants anymore that she was wearing, and I needed to put them on eBay. And she's going to be 4 years old, so she knows the deal. As far as my question goes, I had a return. It was marked under the return section, which I had never even seen before. I don't normally do returns, but, you know, if there's a problem, I'll hopefully they'll message me first before they open a case, and I always settle it, you know, on the silent way and just take, you know, have them ship it back and I refund them. Well, I guess my question is what's the difference between when someone opens a case against you and you have the option on there to, you know, select in the multi-choice that they pay for the item to be shipped back to the seller, and then obviously we would give them the refund, which is what I always do. Well, like I said, I had no eBay message right away or anything. It actually sat for a couple of days that it just said, you have a return, and there was a return, and there is no option on that to have them pay for the shipping and ship it back. They could get their return. So I messaged them and I said, you know, that's what I would do. And they have not responded back. So I called eBay and I tried to get her to basically answer the same question as what's the difference between when someone opens a case against you and then you can do a return through there versus this, you know, it just being in the return section. I mean, that might not sound like the right wording, but if you guys could let me know what the difference is and kind of what's going on with that, if that's happened to you guys, and let me know. Thank you. Bye.
I maybe don't understand this, and maybe it's because you don't have hassle-free returns turned on. That's the only thing I can think of, because when I've tried to return something to someone that I bought from and they didn't have hassle-free returns, it's like I had to ask them permission to start a return, which is weird.
And then often that person won't return our message. Like they do the silent treatment.
They don't approve the return.
So then we have to call eBay, and then eBay allows the return to happen.
They force them to allow it.
So let's talk about how we do it. So we have hassle-free returns turned on. And so if someone wants to return something, we just say use hassle-free returns. And on their end, it's really easy. They can just, you know, choose why they want to return it, print out a label, mail it to us. We get it back. The tracking number is inputted so eBay knows when it gets returned. It says do a refund. We do a refund, and it's so easy, you know?
The only disadvantage to that is someone being like, this shirt doesn't fit. I want to return it. Great, use hassle-free returns. And then they don't use the option of this item doesn't fit. They say item not described. There is that possibility. It does not happen very frequently to us. When
hassle-free returns first got rolled out, I was definitely one of the skeptical ones. I was like, people are going to abuse it, you know, blah, blah. We have not experienced that at all.
Right.
You know? And then we still get from time to time the person that wants to do it the old-fashioned way, where they're just like, I don't like this. Can I return it? We're like, no problem. Here's our address.
Just mail it back.
They mail it back, and then we just issue a
refund when we get it. Yeah.
So yeah, that would be my thing. If you haven't pulled the trigger on hassle-free returns,
just do it.
Because, you know, I think the writing's on the wall. You're going to have to, you know, eBay's going to turn it on anyway, so you might as well enjoy the benefits of it. You know?
It's going to get turned on like next year, so it's going to be mandatory, just like on Amazon or wherever.
Yeah.
Hi, Jay. Hi, Ryan. This is Mark. I think I've called you once before. I just wanted to call and say thanks for your podcast. I've been listening for about 6 months. And I sell parts to appliances, and I also sell anything collectible that has some age to it, toys, games. I'm trying to expand my horizons some. I don't sell a lot of clothes, but since watching your videos and listening to your podcast, I've been getting some ideas. Well, I bought a nice pair of American-made rubber boots at a garage sale this week for $2, listed them, and sold them for $49 within a half hour. So I just wanted to thank you for the podcast and all the great ideas. Keep up the great work. Thanks.
See, I love that story.
Yeah. Now, I get it when people say, I don't really sell clothes. And, that's such a generic term, clothes. But shoes, I feel like any eBay seller should always be looking for shoes, even if it's just boots or just men's shoes or just it's whatever you feel comfortable with. Again, I mean, I can understand why, like, an older man might not want to be selling a lady's
sure. I mean, if you don't
high heels, but shoes are just because they're such a great practical item that people
everybody
are looking
needs
for.
shoes. Yeah.
And if you can buy shoes for $2 to $5 and sell them for $50 plus,
you're golden.
Yeah, you cannot go wrong.
Yeah.
And shoes, almost all shoes have sizes. They're normally all pretty the same across.
Yeah.
It's a great thing.
Yeah. So definitely be keeping an eye out, and that's a great example of not really selling shoes and then finding them and being like, oh, these are great.
Good on you. All right, we got a kind of a message question through email. We get a couple of these. So this person's asking, they're selling something online. They get someone, it's messaged them that says, I really want to buy this.
Yes.
My disability check doesn't come until next Friday. Can I buy it from you, but you delay payment, and I'll pay you as soon as my check comes in? Basically, this person, and it's an interesting, its question is like, what about like its morality of selling stuff to people that maybe shouldn't be buying these things? Like, if this person has to wait for a disability check and they're buying something that isn't a necessary item,
like a frivolous item,
and you're like, and then they're already paying money that they don't even have. So it's an interesting question, but my answer is like, that's their business.
Yeah, I mean, you have no business telling someone what they need and don't need.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be different if we're all like selling cigarettes or drugs or you're doing something to really hurt someone. But
if you're selling like
if someone's
some housewares or
if someone's on disability payment, and they're like, collecting clowns or something. I mean, maybe they could be doing something better with their money, but who knows? It's like
really not any of your business. That's my opinion.
I wouldn't be really too worried about it.
I mean, honestly, if you think about it, you probably have buyers like that all the time, and you just don't hear you have no idea. I mean, there are so many things that we sell that I'll now through Watch Count, I'll look at their history of what they buy, just curious, and you're like, oh, they buy, first of all, so much stuff, and second of all the same thing, and you're like, they could be a hoarder. Who knows? They could be a designer. I don't know.
Yeah,
it's none of my business.
Some people get a lot of whatever contentment out of gathering, a bunch of one thing, bottle caps, whatever.
Stuff like that. So really, you should not worry about it. And if they can pay for it, it's their responsibility.
Exactly.
Hey, Jay and Ryan. This is Jennifer from West Virginia again. And I'm getting married next week, and I have a question for you, and it's not about relationships. I have not been selling on eBay because in addition to getting ready for a big wedding, I have been renovating my house, and I'm actually living in it at the same time. So my question is this. If you had all of your items off of eBay, what would you do different? And I know you're going to be like, oh, my gosh, we've got like 3,000 items. That would be hell. But, how would you organize it differently? Would you, what would you do? Because I'm in that situation. I'm just curious what somebody else would do. So thanks a lot. Bye.
I think what she's asking is, she's redoing her house, and so she has the ability to maybe kind of start fresh. Like, how would we do it if we start from scratch? And we actually had another question like this a week or two ago, where someone was like, if you were building a new storage building, how
would you do it?
And I mean, I think the way we would do it is what other people are doing, and that's you build like a system with
a numbering system.
Yeah, so it's like, row A, number 9, and that's a certain bin. And so when you sell an item, you put, A9 somewhere on the page. So
you know where it is. Instead of like metal things, and you're like, is it in metal or is it in housewares? I mean,
yeah,
that's kind of our dilemma. However, we always say, if it's under 4 or 5 minutes, if you can find something, you're doing it okay.
Yeah, and actually, this is one of the things, I mean, I don't know, I think we can talk about it. Like, one of the things we're going to do this summertime is we're going to actually build a large, like, storage building behind our main house.
Yeah.
And bring all of our eBay stuff in one place. Like, right now, we've just been kind of, like, making things up as we go along, and when we grow too big for one storage area, we'll just get another one. And so we have actually multiple storage sheds in different places, and it's a little bit of a pain in the ass. So we're going to actually invest in our business and bring it all into one place.
So that is one of our projects that we're mentioning. And so we will be redoing our organization a little bit. So that is a good thing to kind of refresh the storage organization.
Hi, my name is Zach. I live in Rhode Island. I've been listening to your podcast for a while now because I've been interested in learning more about scavenging and building a business on eBay, and you've been incredibly educational and inspiring. I haven't dived in yet because of time constraints to work and my family, but I've had a day in my week open up, and I want to get myself into this. I have some family members out of state that are interested in selling some things they have but aren't really interested in doing listing and would like my help. I thought this would be a good way to dip my toes into the water by getting a little experience with listing, as I've never done it before. The question is, what is a fair way to split the profit? I know you two have done a little of this yourself with artwork that you had listed for someone else, so I thought you might have some insight. With my family being out of state, I would only be doing the listing. My dad would have to do the shipping, and the other item would be local pickup only because it's big. I just want to make sure I'm being fair to them and to myself. Any thoughts you have would be much appreciated. Thank you very much.
So, I mean, look, yeah, we always say don't do consignment, and yet we've done a little bit of it. And really, okay, if you really want to do it, I say 50 after expenses. So after all the eBay costs and shipping and all that stuff, then it's half and half. The other thing is you have to say, you guys give me total control over what it sells for. Yep. So no one can dictate price or, don't sell it for under $20 or, it's like, if you want me to sell it, I do it any way I want and you just shut up.
Right. You don't want people being like, this is definitely worth $200. No, it's not. So you just don't want that hassle.
Because then you're basically working for them and doing exactly what they want you to do, and that's like not how it should be.
The other part about it too is you have to be very stringent about making sure that if they have the items in another place, that they ship them properly. Yeah. And they don't let them get broken, because that is feedback you will be getting on your
so like
account.
Did you say that your dad would be the one shipping? I mean, assuming he's a good guy and you trust him, but if he decides to not ship correctly or not
ship at all,
I mean, or things it's broken, again, that feedback would be on you.
So just take that into account.
I mean, I think that the hope would be, I don't know, I mean, if it's possible, like just to buy the stuff outright. I mean, we always say that, like, if your parents have a bunch of extra stuff, say, Mom, Dad, I'll give you
X amount of money,
$200, just give me all this stuff, and then you do whatever you want.
Yeah.
It's with it. So I think that's always the better thing, where it's like a buyout.
I think the buyout is the best, right. But I don't know, maybe you guys are quite far away and that's not possible. So you decide what works best for you, since you're doing the work.
But then the other thing is, I always say, I mean, one reason why consignment doesn't make sense is just there's so much stuff out there. I mean, I bet it's a Sunday. If you were to go out on a Sunday or a Saturday, wherever it you
In Rhode
live,
Island.
with like $100, I bet you could go to flea markets or
Yard sales
and buy, a tub of items that you could practice with and not have to have anyone else involved.
Yep. So
because when you're just starting out, you don't want to make it too complicated. Because
you're learning.
It's too complicated and it's no fun. You're going to be like, forget this.
Yeah. So that might be a better way to start. Or go through your house or apartment, look at the stuff you don't use, sell 10 things of your own thing that, electronics or whatever that you have extra, and just clean out your house, and that's a good practice.
Hi, scavengers. Love your show. I sold an item called a Pet Jet the other day. It was new in the box. It's a hose with a little container for detergent to wash your pets. Got a good price for it. But soon after I sold it, the buyer sent me an email saying the little detergent holder part of the Pet Jet did not work and the item was defective. And he indicated that in his requested return communication back to eBay. So I was wondering, I refunded his money right away, just like you recommended, and that worked great. And then what I thought was, since the item was new in the package, if I could get that defect removed, because even in his feedback, the buyer said, hey, there's no way this seller would have known that the item was defective, and she's a great seller. So he gave me positive feedback, which I was glad for. But I was wondering if you think it is worth my time to call eBay to get that defect removed, or if I'm just wasting my time. And when an item is defective, even if it's brand new and there's no way that I could have even known it was defective, if that's just no way to get that defect taken off, because I don't want to waste my time. And the other thing I think really happened is I think maybe that buyer just didn't know how to operate it right, but there's no way I can tell that. So anyway, bottom line, should I waste my time or use my time to call eBay and get that defect removed on that brand new in-box item, or should I just let it go? I'm still a top seller, and guess what? This is my very first and only defect so far. Thanks so much for your great show. Bye.
So, of course, my advice is it is worth your time to call eBay, explain the situation exactly how you explained it to us. They should see the messages and the feedback left by the person, and hopefully they will take that defect away.
I mean, the other thing too is, and I guess it depends on how much you actually push out every month. I mean, if you sell enough stuff, one defect is not a big deal. I mean, we have like 6 defects over the past 3 months, and it's just, we have like 1.2% defect rating. I mean, as long as it's under 2%, we're okay. We're always calling, trying to get some defects done, but, it's not like we're totally perfect. So I think people, and we are included, you got to balance your level of stress, and concern about defects. Definitely get ones that you think can get taken away, but ones that seem like are fair or too much trouble, like it's not a big deal.
Right. But for me, as I always say, and I said about that negative feedback that I got, I'm going to call and try my best. But when I burn myself out, I'm like, I'm done, So it's worth a call and just see how you feel after the call. Did they remove it? Did they not? Do you feel like calling back? It's all up to you and your level of, frustration or confidence in that situation.
Hi, Jay and Ryan. My name is Cindy, and I love your show. I always learn something new that I can use in my eBay business, and I have you to thank for it. I've learned and implemented so much since starting to listen about a year ago, which is when I started my eBay business and store. Thank you so very much for all the time and effort you put into sharing things that work and things that don't work, and sharing from your heart. Okay, so I hate selling shoes because they have to be cleaned, polished, buffed, etc., and I don't feel I do a very good job of it. But sometimes I can't say no to a great deal and buy them. Then they stack up. So, Jay, how did you learn to get them spiffy and looking great to sell? Can you give me some tips, please? Have you done an episode where you discussed it? I want to love it like you do, if possible, and at the very least, just do a great job of cleaning them up. And I think I could learn some techniques. It might help if I do that. Did you start by checking out videos on YouTube or some other websites? By the way, I'm almost 60 years young and have been married for 39 years, raised 4 kids, all married, and have 6 grandbabies. I love doing eBay. My husband isn't interested, although occasionally he gives me some guy thing to sell, and it usually sells great. So I'm a loner in this fun adventure. What makes my heart sing is to hear cha-ching. I also had a second question. I shipped a package of 10 collectible tiki mugs, and one broke. I had wrapped them in the bubble wrap, then double boxed them. I actually had 4 boxes, and then put them into a big bubble wrap box. How do I determine how much to file the insurance claim for? The person paid $60 for 10 plus shipping. I would assume that I would divide 10 into 60 and just ask for a $6 refund, but I really don't know how to calculate that. Thank you guys again. Really appreciate your show. Bye-bye.
Okay, so Jay is a shoe expert.
So,
here.
I mean...
shoe cleaning expert.
You know, I think she's talking about because the fact that on a podcast recently I was like, I love selling shoes. Like when I'm old man, I'll just think back at my life and think, oh, I just love like cleaning shoes and selling. They're just like, it's such meditative.
Okay, I will also say this. It's meditative, definitely. There's a sense of accomplishment of like revitalizing these beautiful shoes. And Jay has super OCD about things being neat and clean.
Yeah.
So
there's nothing more fun to me than I've got like a little stool. I sit there with like 30 pairs of shoes and I wipe them down. I mean, first, if you take a wet rag, or I do, I wipe them down just because there's dust
and grime.
Dirt.
Yeah.
I might even wipe down the inside if they've been like in a closet for a long time.
Yeah.
I group them up by different colors, so the black ones, the brown ones,
burgundy, yeah.
And then I, get out the black polish and I polish all the black shoes.
Yep.
And then I go and then I brush them.
You buff them.
Buff them.
You can use a brush or like a soft cotton cloth and get them all shiny.
And then, and that's really about it. I mean, it's not really all that complicated. I mean, I'm sure I don't get them perfect, but I get them...
You get them better than they were when you got them.
Right. And
presentable for photographs.
And that's the other thing. We don't buy shoes that are in such bad shape that it would take a whole lot of work. I mean, some shoes people want to look distressed, like old cowboy boots. Like people like it when it looks like all beat up, or old combat boots that are all scuffed. Guys like that, or girls like, the kind of punk look.
Right. So. It depends on the shoe, but if you can clean them up, that's good.
But then again, like as we say, I mean, shoes are always a good thing to sell. But if you do not care about shoes, if the idea of sitting there and cleaning 30 pairs of shoes is not exciting to you,
then you should not do it.
Don't do it.
We love shoes.
Why put yourself through that?
Yeah, it's like plush toys.
It's not worth it.
Some people are like, I love plush. They're everywhere. They're easy to ship. They're easy to store. I want them all around me.
I want them looking at me.
They're cute. I'm like...
I'm sleeping with them.
I'm like, no. I do not like plush. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care.
I don't care what they'll sell for $100.
I don't care.
I don't care. I'm burning that $100 bill.
Right. I'm burning it to create fire to heat my house.
She asked about the tiki.
Right. So about the tiki mugs, that is sad that one got broken. So what you would do is, however much, say, for example, you sold 10, they were $1 each, you sold them for $10 or $2, whatever. You will do a partial refund for the one that got broken. You can also, whatever insurance you had, USPS or ShipSaver or whatever, you can ask for a partial insurance claim. You can just be like, look, 1 out of 10 broke. I just want the, couple bucks back. If it's worth it to you. It depends. I don't know how much it was. But so that's the possibility. Partial refund, partial claim if you want to do a claim.
Hi, this is Cynthia calling from Dallas, Texas. I know that you sell clothing and shoes. I was wondering, do you see a difference in the rate of returns from men or women, between men or women? I'm guessing that women tend to return items more frequently than men, but then that's just a guess. I'd love to hear your point of view on that and your experience. Thank you so much for all you do. Have a wonderful day. Thank you. Bye-bye now.
You know, I've never seen a difference in returns.
Really. No. I mean, not so in the its return process, there really isn't a difference one way or the other. What we do see, for us at least, is that we saw a lot more men's clothes and men's shoes than women's clothes and shoes. And my theory is that there's a lot more people that sell ladies' clothes.
It's more
than
competition.
Men's. Because, you know, a stay-at-home mom wants to start a business, and she immediately just starts to buy a lady's clothes because she's a lady, and, you know,
right? She knows it. She has those clothes and whatever.
But it's the men who, you know, they go on and they're just like, yeah, no problem, shoes.
Oh, but the other thing too about men, I feel like their fit for clothes is less particular than women.
That's true.
Like Jay's just like, yeah, large t-shirt.
Yeah, but 32, whatever.
Yeah, and the way that men's pants are measured is so much more logical. But the way that clothes fit women are so different. Like, we need so many different more measurements.
Yeah.
I need the hip measurement, the weight, the waist, blah, 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 blah.
And there's no way to, you know, the tag, you can't go by the tag because...
Size 8.
Size 8 is different for all different brands.
Yeah, it's so different. So I think for women, I think women buy lots of clothes online, but I think women need to try clothes on more often to know exactly what they need. I mean, men, they're just like 30, 32, done.
Right. I mean, we actually have 4 large tubs of
women's
ladies'
clothes,
like pants and dresses,
vintage
and we've had
stuff.
some of these for 3 or 4 years now, and I keep telling Ryan, like, you got to make a choice. Either we're going to measure these the way they needs to be.
That's our theory on returns and men's and women's clothes. Short and sweet.
Hi, it's Betty. A couple things. First, have you ever recontacted a buyer who had offered you a price and you counteroffered him or her and they didn't take your counteroffer? So my question was, have you ever recontacted them and say, gee, I wish you had met me with a counteroffer and maybe we can still do business? And the second thing, Ben, was I noticed you've disabled your comments on all your videos and even on your page. And I know there's only so many hours in a day, and I figured that was probably why. Am I right? Thanks. Love your show. Bye.
Okay, first of all, yes, we have, I believe, very rarely we have contacted people.
Not really.
Not really, but like a couple times where we're like, yeah, I'd take the first offer or whatever.
No, yeah, I mean, maybe in the early days where we're just so hungry for sale and we're like, oh, I should have taken it. Nowadays, we kind of know that that's what the game is, you know? Like, I'll be like, it's Ryan, we just got a half price offer. So, do we take the half price? And she'll say, nope, I want to counter. And so I always say, okay, if we
be
counter,
okay with it.
You gotta be okay. That they're gonna walk away. Like, this is one of those items that sells very rarely. Like, are you willing to have this up for another 6 months? And Ryan would be like, nope, I want the price. And we'd say, okay. And then that's it. You know, like, I feel like going back, you're going back with like no power. Like,
yeah, that's true. That's a good point.
I mean, you know, it's not a good.
It's kind of like, that's the chance to do the deal.
Right.
You don't want to go back.
I feel like it's kind of pathetic. You're like, okay, I'll take the half price, and they're like,
forget it.
I'll give you $20.
Yeah, it's basically that negotiation is the time to do the negotiation, and you have to be good with it. And you know, there are times where we're like, we just got a half price offer, but we paid $1 for it, so let's just sell it. I mean, a lot of times we'll do that too. So. The thing about, we turned off comments on YouTube, not on our blog. You can always come to our blog. We have lots of conversation happening there. And you're right, that's why. We wanted to concentrate the conversation because it was like split conversations happening,
I also
like
felt
parallel.
like, it's pretty typical on a YouTube. The quality of conversation on a YouTube seems a lot less. There's a lot more. It's noisier.
It's noisier
than on our own blog. And so, if you're listening to this through YouTube, go over to scavengerlife.com, and that's where the fun happens.
There's a very vibrant community of people talking back and forth on the comments.
Talking about items they buy and sell and look for, and people are solving problems and asking questions, and it feels very it feels like a good time, if you're in eBay.
Yeah.
A seller.
So come to the blog, scavengerlife.com.
Yeah. And sometimes I'm really mean. I'm the angry guy, so if I don't like something, I tell people.
You're not mean. I don't think you're mean. I think you're stern. Trust me. I'm practically married to you, so I know that you're very,
we just like to
fact-based.
We like to keep things, it's moving. Like, let's all get better instead of just wasting each other's time. So.
Exactly.
Okay, so that's it for It's This Week. As we always say, go to scavengerlife.com and join the conversation. If you have a question, you can either email it to us
or you can call our voicemail number, 540-407-8486, and leave a message.
We always post this episode every, Sunday night, Monday morning. We often do like a what sells a video. So you can see the things we buy and sell. Those are normally up on Wednesdays. And then every so often we do an interview as well. We have one more to post.
Yes, we have an interview in the pipeline.
So we might do it this week.
Okay, so this podcast is ending in 3, 2, 1.